What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, Serve to Build, where I'm going to bring you through what it's like to take an idea to a startup. And today, I want to introduce my co-founder on episode 2, Nemath Ahmed.
Hey guys, I'm Nemath, co-founder of Dotflow along with Spencer here. And yeah, we've been working full time for almost 2 months now. We are in Atlanta right now. Excited to be on the second episode.
yeah, it's fun. I was telling Nemath that we're going to start this channel, and really, the goal of this channel is to show everyday people, everyday potential founders, everyday people who actually are founders, what it's like to be in the very early stages of building a company. We're learning a lot, and we wanted to discuss one topic today, which Nemath and I went back and forth a little back earlier today, which is friction within the product, and how much friction should you have within the product when you're onboarding users in the very early stages. So I'll just start it off with a first question that I'm going to pose to Nemath, and then we're just going to go back and forth a little bit. Nemath, what do you think about as you are on the product side? What is the right amount of friction where you feel like there's a good in between of it's easy for them, but it's not? Like, how easy do you want the experience to be for the user the first time they get onboarded, when you're still trying to validate your product and you don't want to spend 4, 5, 6 months trying to launch that first product?
Yeah, I think that's one of the difficult trade-offs that, at least when I start out to build a feature or like an experience, the biggest thing that comes to my mind in terms of trade-offs is, do I spend 2 weeks building that very smooth experience, or do I build it in a day and firstly prove whether people are interested in that experience or not? I just get that initial hints of them being interested. I feel so the part about how much friction is right amount of friction, I think is one of the hard parts, which I think we're still trying to get to. And I think it depends on feature to feature. What I see is, if there's something very core to your tool, I think in that case experience might take a hit and it won't matter that much, because the person might be in for the core value that you're providing, and even if the experience is a little off, it might be fine. But if it's like a more of a superficial feature, then if there's less of that experience aspect to it, then it becomes like useless to the person using it. That's my initial thought.
No, that makes sense. And to give you guys perspective on, as we're throwing around, what even is a feature? In our sense, we're building a sales tool where we've built different features within the product, basically where a user can sign on, they have a conversation with our AI sales development representative, and from there, the whole idea is that our sales development representative uses a feature that can go find open internet research, bring it in, and personalize messages at scale for our customers. So within this sales space, what makes this like an interesting question, I think, is there are so many great outbound sales tools. I think there's still a lot of improvement, and that's where we're trying to edge into this outbound motion, personalizing everything within that first message, second message, third message. But the process right now, I would say, is still pretty seamless when it comes to tools like Apollo, tools like Instantly, Warmly. It's still really easy for a user to upload a list, run it through a sequence like a sales law, for example, and it starts working for them.
Right.
And I think that's where this question's interesting, because some people will say you want more friction, because the more friction you have, if you're actually solving a big problem for them, they'll actually it doesn't matter how much friction. But then I would actually argue, when you are building a product within a particular space, sales for example, you have to understand who your user is. Our user, in most cases, is going to be stretched for time. They're going to want something very easy. They've had experience using very easy sales tools. So the expectation for when they use our tool is that it's so easy that it really works for them. And that's that whole ideation of what does friction mean? And in my eyes, this is the last thing I'll say, and I'll pass it to you and we can end this episode off. In my eyes, friction isn't necessarily that experience, it's those other small little things, like them clicking a few additional buttons to upload the CSV, to configure their sheet, one-time configure. They never have to do it again. For in the beginning, we don't have all those integrations with Salesforce. That's adding friction, but if we can really get that first step right, I think like we'll provide value for the customer.
Yeah, I think also B2C products versus B2B products, I think there's different kind of points for both cases, where I feel in B2B, while you're selling, they're kind of expecting that it integrates with their whole workflow. And one thing I did see is sometimes they're forgiving. They know we are a startup and they're like, okay, we can manage those things. If again we are providing that core value, which is fundamental to what we are building or what is different.
And in our case, it's booking them more meetings and finding them better prospects. Like if we can do that really well.
Initially I used to think friction is always bad. And I think it's still like it's a bad thing to have, but what I think it can still do is help you evaluate whether that problem someone's going to go beyond.
Go back to the product after you onboard them.
Go back to the product.
Keep using it, even when there is those additional steps.
Even when there's those additional steps, and if that happens, then you really have something. And removing friction is not like a big deal. I would say like you just need a little more time, a little more engineering hours, product hours, and you would have all that removed. But if someone's going back, even if there's friction, I think that's like a big sign. And that's something that we also look for. When we do have friction, if someone's still coming back, that means that's like a big win for us.
Yeah, and we're still in these early stages where we have 2 paying customers. We had 3 great calls today where people are getting onboarded to the tool. Hopefully we're going to convert them to paying initial customer users so we can get some good use cases, so we have future validations as we go. But I would say, to summarize this conversation, what I took away from this is, firstly, friction is not a bad thing. It can actually be a good thing, and it can actually reveal a lot of truths. Secondly, you have to understand friction in the perspective of who you're trying to sell to and what that friction actually means. And then my last takeaway from this would be, don't spend a ton of time trying to build out 10 different features and then launching in 4 or 5 months. Launch quickly, test the feature quickly, see if that person's coming back to that feature, understand why or why not, and go from there. But this was a little bit of a breakdown. Appreciate you guys listening.
Before we go back, what do you think was your favorite part of today?
Favorite part of today. I think favorite part of today was actually getting that currently paid user using the tool for the first time, and then realizing that this is going to provide value for them.
I agree.
And that it was a little bit different from what they already have used in the past, and it's going to make their life easier.
Yeah. And it's always really good to see people using the tool and finding value out of it. Like one of the calls that we had where we did produce some really good results for the person, and I think we'll keep getting better at everything that we're doing from every perspective.
No, I think we will too. And if you guys enjoyed this, leave a comment. Would love to know your guys' thoughts on what does friction mean to you, and we're gonna keep you guys updated daily on what's going on within the day-to-day of Dotflow, and we hope that you guys can learn from this, and we want to learn from you too. But thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.
Thank you guys. See you.